Welcome to the Multiverse, where I take different franchises and mash them up to see what would have happened. The multiverse is huge and always expanding into new possibilities. The reason that you've clicked on this video, my fellow watchers, is because you're probably pondering this question: what if Bruce Wayne became Captain America? In today's video, this is something that we haven't done before. Something that I really wanted to do for a long time. That being said, if you enjoy these multiverse episodes, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But anyways, as always guys, let's get into the multiverse fan fiction. Gotham was falling. Bruce only just became an adult when he read the ad in the newspaper about the need for more police. Gotham was overrun with crime, new villains and gangs appearing all over the city. Bruce had never seen such a sad sight. After the death of his parents, Bruce trained for the worst. He prepared himself to fight to find the one who caused his life to spiral into madness. He had his gadgets, his riches, his mansion in Alfred, but he didn't have what he needed most: courage. There was a dormant fire in him that was yet to be unlocked. Alfred had tried getting it out of him for years. They sparred, exercised, went scouring the city for crime to thought. None of that brought the fire out. Instead of the fire spewing out in a blaze of glory, it fizzled away. Bruce wished he knew why, but as he sat on the sofa in the police station, he realized it was because he wasn't excited about stopping crime. In fact, he wasn't excited about anything at all. He had reverted into a shell of himself, deciding to curl up into the maze that was his mind, instead of fighting the crime that caused him to fall from grace. Part of him was amazed he had the strength to get out of bed and sit in the station at all. Bruce had put an application to join. He knew nothing about law, nothing about the way of the police force. But he had always one thing that applicants didn't: social status. He had the money and notoriety to get him past the first stage. Although there was a slim to none chance he'd be allowed onto the force, his status at least earned him an interview, without many questions asked. The Gotham Police Department was run down, to say the least. The officers were scurrying around the muddy floors that smelt of rotten cheese mixed with vomit. No janitors were around to clean the footprints of the guards, and Bruce sneered at the aroma flooding his nose. That was when a male figure sat across from him, and Bruce picked his head up. They were in the corner of a giant area known as the police station. Sofas set up almost like a mini break room, except it wasn't exactly a room. It was still connected to the rest of the hectic area. "My name is Officer Jim Gordon," he said. His skinny, tawny, and covered with pores, likely from the stress of his job. His chestnut locks were slicked back, his face freshly shaved. Strange, Officer Gordon seemed the type to look better with a mustache. "I'm Bruce Wayne, it's nice to meet you." Officer Gordon dipped his head in acknowledgement, reading through Bruce's file. There was a silence. Then, he clicked his tongue. "You have no experience with the law or the academy. What makes you think you'd be a good pick?" "I know how to fight. So do the criminals in those cells behind you. What makes you think you can take them?" Bruce turned and saw the cells not far. They were holding cells, the type where the alleged lawbreakers were held, until it was their turn for processing. They were causing a ruckus, banging on the metal bars, until the sound made Bruce's ears ring. When he met the officer's eyes again, he signed and sank back in his seat. "I want to do right by the people. I've been hiding long enough." That wasn't a lie. Bruce had his flaws, but he wanted to make Alfred proud, as a way to thank him for all he had done. "I can't accept someone into the force who has no experience with law," Officer Gordon said. "The ad in the paper made it seem like you're getting desperate." "No, that's desperate." Bruce brought his eyebrows together, crossing his arms over his chest. "Please, I need to help. I can't let any of my training go to waste, especially when you need people." After Gordon said no again, Bruce begged and pleaded. Gordon stared, his blinking slowly as Bruce attempted to annoy him into submission. Gordon stared at him for longer than he needed to. He stood and brushed off his uniform. "Stay here," he said. Then, he was gone. Not long after Gordon had left, Bruce found himself in the basement of the station, staring down a machine that was shaped like a bulky man with tubes, exposed on the sides of a sage-colored metal. It smelt of sweat. Bruce stepped onto the walkway and bouncing because of the way the ground shook. There were pounds of paperwork he had to sign, and the commissioner warned him about the dangers of their top-secret program. Bruce had a sneaking suspicion that if it weren't for the power his name held, he wouldn't be in this room, watching the scientists tap away on the computers with dust on top of them. It seemed like a high school science project. Bruce didn't trust how run down it was, but his desperation to become more than a shell of himself overpowered any doubts he had. Apparently, they had brought in a criminal several months ago who had experience with the serums. They had different uses, and one contained traits that made the person who took it like a quote-unquote super soldier. Bruce laughed when Gordon told him this, but as it turned out, this was real, and Bruce didn't feel ready. The desire to curl back up into himself made him rub his arms, but Gordon, who was still by his side, came closer, as if that would comfort him. In an odd way, it did. Bruce felt at ease thanks to Gordon's presence, and the idea of being injected with chemicals didn't terrify him as much anymore. It was time he found out who he was. Otherwise, he'd be deemed a failure and nothing more. He already failed to save his parents. He couldn't fail this either. Bruce would be injected with chemicals that were reverse engineered from that criminal. They had been researching it since the criminal was locked up a month ago. They had reached a conclusion that they had the final copy. It had been almost a year since they began their research, which admittedly made Bruce feel slightly better about his odds. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Gordon asked as a pair of scientists came over, taking Bruce's vitals and checking out his physical health. "I know this is sudden, I'm sorry, but this was the only way I could think of getting you onto the force. I get injected and become what? Gotham's super soldier. You'll be our field man, like a captain. Captain America sound good to you?" Bruce chuckled, but there wasn't any humor in it. "Let's start small. How does Captain Gotham sound?" Gordon grinned, and any nerves Bruce had left were squashed. "Sounds great, kid." Bruce's lungs closed in on themselves as he went through all the necessary health and safety procedures. He was debriefed on what it felt like and what to expect afterwards. But even as he got in the machine and prepared for the serum, he didn't feel the anxiety he had before. It was like the calm before the storm, and Bruce kept a straight face through it all. By the time he felt the needles piercing his skin, agony erupted through his veins. His body morphed more by the second, his bones expanding and contrasting until Bruce's nostrils clogged with the scent of his own blood. The substance landed on his tongue and filled his mouth with a copper taste, his vision going dark for several moments. When he came to, the doors were slid off by him, and Bruce's clothes were stretched and torn. His shirt had formed a tear down the middle, his hair drenched and sticking to the sides of his face. There was moisture cracking his body, and the blood taste was gone, as was the pain. All that was left was a soreness too much to distinguish, but his ears were ringing too much to distinguish that it was real. He was offered a change of clothes. He was hesitant to put them on at first. His vision was far too hazy to determine what was happening. It took a full 5 minutes for Bruce to snap back to reality. When he did, he was handed a round shield with a star in the middle, the base a sheet of metal with no color on it. In that shield, Bruce saw the way his form was now, and he was like a behemoth. His muscles were twice the size, and he felt like he could lift thousands of pounds. The future glimmered off of the shield, and Bruce indulged in his desires. He wished to stop crime by leading Gotham's forces. He wished to promote the police force and bring a new age to recruitments to the cause. Above all else, he wished to please Alfred as a way to thank him. Finally, Bruce had to propose. He had to protect his city. Gotham was falling, and Bruce was determined to fix it. as Captain Gotham. And that is going to be it for what if Bruce Wayne had become Captain America or a super soldier in a different type of DC universe. How do you think this story would play out in the future? Would you like to see a part 2 for Captain Gotham? And do you think that Bruce Wayne would be very different as a super soldier? That being said, I hope you enjoy this multiverse episode. And if you guys do want to see more multiverse episode, and if you guys do want to see more content, do make sure to subscribe, like, share, and turn those notifications on, so you and your friends are all up to date with the latest content. But that being said, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace out.